What if Earth isn't what we've always believed it to be? What if the ground beneath our feet, the sky above our heads, and even the rhythms of our seasons hide secrets that science hasn't fully explained? For centuries we've been told that Earth is just a lucky planet, fortunate enough to sit in the right spot around the sun, with just the right tilt, just the right moon, and just the right chemistry to support life. But when you start looking closer, that luck begins to feel less like chance and more like design. And the deeper you go, the more unsettling the questions become. Think about it. Earth's position in the cosmos is almost impossibly perfect, balanced in a fragile zone where water can exist as liquid, solid, and vapor all at once. Shift a little closer to the sun, and our world might have turned into a desert wasteland. Drift a little further away, and everything could have frozen into a lifeless ice ball. Was this an accident, or does it hint at something more deliberate? Then there's the strange tilt of our planet, 23.5 degrees, an angle that gives us seasons, controls climate, and shapes life itself. But why that angle? Why not more? Why not less? Was it caused by random cosmic violence, or does the precision suggest intent? And if you think that's strange, just look at our moon. It's far too large compared to Earth when measured against other planetary systems. It stabilizes our planet's rotation, powers the tides, and influences life in ways we still don't fully understand. Without it, civilization as we know it might never have existed. The more you connect the dots, the more Earth begins to look less like a lucky accident and more like something arranged with purpose. And that's just the beginning, because once you start pulling on these threads, you'll discover anomalies, ancient knowledge, and eerie coincidences that point to a truth far stranger than anything we've been taught in school. If you had to design a planet where life could thrive, where would you place it? The answer might seem obvious. Somewhere not too hot and not too cold, in that delicate balance between extremes where water can flow, organisms can grow, and ecosystems can evolve. Scientists have a name for this region, the habitable zone, more famously called the Goldilocks zone. It's the sweet spot around a star where conditions are just right. And somehow, Earth sits almost dead center in that zone, balanced on a razor's edge between fire and ice. The strange part isn't just that Earth happens to be there, it's how precise that placement is, and how fragile it seems once you start to examine it closely. If Earth had orbited just a little closer to the Sun, our world would likely resemble Venus. On that planet, surface temperatures soar high enough to melt lead. Its skies are suffocated by toxic clouds of sulfuric acid, and its ground is a barren wasteland where no life as we know it could survive. A small shift inward, even by a few million miles, and Earth's oceans might have boiled away eons ago, leaving behind a desert wrapped in greenhouse gases. If Earth had orbited a little further out, our fate would have mirrored Mars, a frozen, desolate planet where thin air and icy dust stretch endlessly across a lifeless landscape. Water might exist in patches, but the warmth and stability needed for complex life would vanish. Somehow, Earth found itself in the narrow corridor between these two extremes, a position so perfect that even tiny deviations could have prevented everything we know from existing. It gets even stranger when you consider time. Our sun hasn't always been as it is today. Billions of years ago, it was dimmer, radiating far less energy than it does now. According to astrophysical models, the Earth should have been a frozen sphere back then, incapable of supporting liquid water. This paradox, known as the faint young sun problem, has puzzled scientists for decades. If the sun was weaker, how did Earth stay warm enough for oceans and life to develop? Some argue greenhouse gases like methane and carbon dioxide trapped heat in the atmosphere, compensating for the weaker sunlight. But even that explanation feels like a cosmic balancing act. The right gases at the right time in the right concentrations, sustained for millions of years. One slip in this equilibrium, and the story of life on Earth could have ended before it began. And it's not just about warmth. Earth's orbit itself is remarkably stable. While planets tug on one another with their gravitational pulls, creating shifts over eons, our planet's orbit hasn't wildly fluctuated. It doesn't veer dangerously close to the sun, or wander too far into the cold. The nearly circular shape of Earth's path keeps us at a consistent distance, maintaining the balance needed for climate stability. Compared to the eccentric orbits other planets, Earth's track is unusually well behaved, almost as if it were finely tuned to sustain life. Astronomers often note that if Earth's orbit were significantly more elliptical, the planet would swing through violent cycles of burning summers and frozen winters, stressing ecosystems beyond survival. Yet here we are, orbiting with a steadiness that seems almost uncanny. The tilt of our planet adds another layer to this improbable perfection. Earth is inclined at about 23.5 degrees relative to its orbit, and this tilt is what gives us seasons. Without it, much of the planet would be locked in monotonous climates, with the equator scorching and the poles eternally frozen. With the tilt, however, sunlight spreads across the globe in shifting patterns, creating cycles of growth, migration, and renewal. This rhythm has shaped agriculture, civilizations, and entire ecosystems. Too little tilt and we might never have developed diverse climates. Too much tilt and the swings between seasons would be catastrophic. Again, Earth falls into a range that seems suspiciously ideal. When scientists search for exoplanets, worlds orbiting distant stars, the Goldilocks zone is their first filter. Planets outside it are usually dismissed as too hostile for life. Yet even within the zone, countless other factors must align: atmosphere, rotation, magnetic field, chemical composition. The odds of all of these aligning by chance are astronomically small. And yet Earth not only checks the boxes, it does so with such precision that it feels less like a lucky throw of cosmic dice and more like something designed with intent. Some scientists shrug and call it the anthropic principle, the idea that we observe the universe this way because if it were different, we wouldn't be here to notice. But others can't shake the feeling that Earth's positioning raises questions too big to ignore. Even the Sun itself adds to the mystery. Our star is stable, long-lived, and unusually calm compared to many others in the galaxy. Red dwarfs, the most common stars, flare violently, blasting nearby planets with radiation that could strip away atmospheres. Giant stars burn bright but live short lives, ending in catastrophic explosions before life has time to emerge. But the Sun? It shines steadily, burning for billions of years at a rate that allows life to evolve slowly and steadily on Earth. The chance alignment of a star like ours, with a planet like ours, in a zone like ours, makes some people whisper words like fine-tuned and engineered. It's not hard to see why this raises speculation. Religious thinkers see it as evidence of creation, a planet placed with care in a cosmic garden. Conspiracy theorists point to it as proof of ancient design, perhaps by intelligences far older and more advanced than humanity. Even scientists, cautious with their words, admit that the precision is uncanny. The Goldilocks zone isn't just a catchy term, it's a reminder of how fragile and unlikely our existence really is. But here's the chilling part. What if it isn't coincidence? What if Earth's placement was intentional? Theories of simulation argue that our reality might be programmed, and Earth's perfect balance could be the result of coded parameters ensuring stability. Others imagine ancient civilizations capable of planet-shaping technologies, positioning worlds in habitable zones across the galaxy like gardeners planting seeds. Whether you see it as divine, artificial, or coincidental, the fact remains. Earth's placement is extraordinary, and when things are too extraordinary, human instinct tells us there's more to the story. Of course, skeptics will argue that with billions of stars and trillions of planets, some were bound to fall in the right place. Earth just happens to be one of them. But that explanation feels like a shrug, dismissing the deeper awe that Earth's perfection inspires. Because the truth is, if any one of 1,000 variables had shifted, the sun's brightness, Earth's orbit, the atmospheric composition, even the tilt of our axis, life might never have happened. Not life as we know it. We exist in a sliver of possibility so narrow it defies belief, and we exist because Earth is balanced with uncanny precision inside it. And that's why the Goldilocks zone isn't just a scientific label, it's a mystery. It's the first crack in the illusion that everything is ordinary. It's the first breadcrumb on a trail that leads us into questions humanity may not be ready to answer. Because once you accept that Earth's position is strange enough to raise doubts, you're forced to look deeper at everything else. Our moon, our magnetic shield, our ancient myths, and every step along that path brings revelations that make Earth look less like a random planet and more like a cosmic puzzle, waiting for us to figure out who set the pieces in place. When people talk about Earth, they often focus on the things we can see: mountains, oceans, forests, and clouds drifting across blue skies. But hidden beneath all of this beauty is a quiet, invisible detail that shapes everything about the way life unfolds on this planet Earth. Doesn't spin upright. Instead, it leans, At a precise angle of about 93.5 degrees relative to its orbit around the Sun, our planet's tilt may not sound like much, but it is the reason we have seasons, the reason civilizations rose and fell with cycles of planting and harvest, and the reason life on Earth looks the way it does today. Without it, our world would be unrecognizable. And when you examine just how specific and influential this tilt is, questions begin to emerge. Was it really a cosmic accident, or is there something far stranger about the way Earth spins? The most obvious effect of this tilt is seasonal change. Imagine if Earth stood perfectly upright, with no lean at all. In that case, the sun's rays would always strike the equator directly, bathing those world's ears in endless heat, while the poles remained locked in eternal cold. The middle of the planet would become unbearably hot, while the higher latitudes would be frozen deserts of ice. Entire continents would be uninhabitable, locked into climates that barely changed year after year. Complex ecosystems like the ones we know might never have evolved, and human civilization as we understand it would never have been possible. Instead, because of our tilt, the sun's energy shifts north and south throughout the year. This tilt creates a rhythm of light and darkness, heat and cold, growth and dormancy. It turns the planet into a living, breathing cycle, where time itself is measured not only by days, but by the changing face of the season. Even more unsettling is how fragile this balance is. Earth's tilt is not fixed forever, it wobbles. Over thousands of years, the angle shifts slightly in cycles known as obliquity. These shifts have been linked to ice ages, mass migrations, and the collapse of civilizations. A small change in angle, even by a degree or two, can dramatically alter climate patterns worldwide. What we take for granted as the normal ebb and flow of the seasons is, in reality, the product of a precarious tilt that could have been very different. Scientists believe this tilt was caused long ago by a catastrophic impact, possibly the same one that created the Moon. But even this explanation raises more questions than answers. Why did Earth end up with this particular angle? Why not something extreme, like Uranus, which is tilted 98 degrees and essentially rolls around the Sun on its side? Or Mercury, which has virtually no tilt at all? Out of all the possibilities, Earth's angle seems almost too convenient, as if it were chosen with precision to sustain life. The Moon's role in stabilizing Earth's tilt adds another layer of mystery. Without the gravitational influence of our unusually large Moon, Earth's tilt might fluctuate chaotically, swinging wildly over time. This instability could have made the planet hostile, with climates lurching between extremes, making it difficult for complex life to survive. Mars, for example, has no large moon to steady it, and as a result its tilt shifts dramatically, driving intense climate swings that may have doomed its chances for sustaining long-term life. Yet Earth's tilt, though it wobbles, remains relatively stable, keeping the seasons predictable for millions of years. This stability has been a cornerstone of evolution, agriculture, and the rise of civilization, and it owes its existence to the Moon, whose presence seems almost too perfect to be coincidence. But why 23.5 degrees? Why this angle, and not some other? If the impact that tilted Earth was random, as scientists suggest, then the probability of landing in such an ideal range seems incredibly slim. If the tilt had been greater, say 40 degrees, the seasonal swings would be extreme. Winters would be brutally cold, summers unbearably hot, and much of the planet would swing between inhospitable extremes every few months. If the tilt had been smaller, closer to zero, seasons would barely exist at all, locking regions into static climates that might prevent the biodiversity we see today. The current angle doesn't just allow for life, it encourages diversity, creating countless ecological niches that drive evolution forward. It is, in every sense of the word, optimal. And optimal outcomes are rarely the result of pure chance. There's another strange aspect to the tilt, its connection to ancient knowledge. Across cultures, monuments and myths reflect a fascination with the shifting position of the sun across the sky. The builders of Stonehenge aligned their stones to mark the solstices, the exact points in the year when Earth's tilt brings the sun furthest north or south. The pyramids of Egypt, the temples of the Maya, the lines carved into the Peruvian desert at Nazca, all show precise alignments with solar or celestial events tied directly to Earth's tilt. How did ancient civilizations across the globe, separated by oceans and centuries, all focus on this same hidden truth? Was it instinct, careful observation, or something deep? Some researchers argue that this knowledge hints at a forgotten understanding of Earth's design, passed down through myth and architecture, echoing the mystery of why the tilt exists in the first place. From another perspective, the tilt invites speculation about artificial design. Some theorists suggest that Earth's conditions are so finely balanced that it resembles a system set up intentionally, as if our planet were engineered to sustain life. In this view, the tilt isn't a random consequence of an ancient collision, but part of a larger framework, a planet positioned, angled, and tuned like an instrument to create harmony. The idea may sound outlandish, but it speaks to the same unease that scientists feel when trying to explain why Earth is so perfectly suited for life. Too many variables seem to fall into the just right category, and the tilt is one of the most glaring examples. The tilt also ties into larger cycles that govern Earth's climate. Combined with changes in orbit and precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis over thousands of years, it contributes to the Milankovitch cycles, which are thought to trigger ice ages. These cycles remind us that the tilt is not only a gift, but also a ticking clock, pushing Earth through rhythms of stability and upheaval. Civilizations have risen during warm, stable periods, and collapsed when climates shifted. In this sense, Earth's tilt is both protector and executioner, guiding the fate of humanity without us even realizing it. As we study exoplanets, we find that axial tilt is not universal. Some planets spin chaotically, others stand upright, and many lack the stable rhythm that defines Earth. The more we discover, the more unique Earth's tilt appears, and with uniqueness comes suspicion. Why us? Why here? Why this angle? These questions linger, haunting astronomers, philosophers, and anyone who dares to look beyond the surface of the everyday world. The tilt of Earth is easy to overlook because it's invisible. You can't see it from the ground. You can't feel it as you walk. And yet every breath of air, every harvest, every snowfall, and every migration is shaped by it. We exist inside its rhythm without ever questioning it. But when you finally stop to ask why the planet leans the way it does, the answers dissolve into uncertainty. Was it a lucky collision? A cosmic accident? Or is it something far more deliberate? A sign that Earth is part of a design larger than we can yet imagine. One thing is certain, without the tilt, we wouldn't be here. And once you understand how precise, how fragile, and how strangely perfect that angle is, you can't help but wonder whether it was ever really random at all. Because if Earth's lean was meant to happen, then what else about our world has been arranged with the same eerie precision, and what story is that arrangement trying to tell us? When we look up at the night sky, the moon feels like the most familiar thing in the heavens. It has been there for as long as humans have existed, glowing above deserts and forests, oceans and cities, inspiring poetry, guiding travelers, and shaping myths across every culture on Earth. Yet for all its familiarity, the moon is one of the greatest mysteries we face. It is far too large compared to Earth, when judged against the moons of other planets. It exerts a gravitational pull that stabilizes our tilt, drives our tides, and even affects biological cycles in ways we're only beginning to understand. Without it, Earth might never have been hospitable for complex life. But when scientists dig into the question of where the moon came from, the answers get messy, contradictory, and strangely unsettling. The moon, it seems, is not as simple as it looks. The prevailing scientific theory, known as the giant impact hypothesis, suggests that billions of years ago, Earth collided with a Mars-sized object, named Theia. The force of the collision blasted molten material into orbit, which eventually coalesced into the moon. It's a neat, dramatic story, one that explains why the moon is so large and why its composition is similar to Earth's mantle. But as with many scientific theories, the details don't quite fit. For instance, samples brought back from the Apollo missions show that the isotopic signatures of lunar rocks are nearly identical to those on Earth. If the moon formed from a mix of Earth and Theia, shouldn't the chemical fingerprints reveal a blend of two worlds? Instead, they look almost as if the moon came entirely from Earth itself, raising doubts about the idea that it was born from a collision. Other theories have been proposed, but each has its flaws. Some scientists once argued that the moon formed elsewhere in the solar system, and was later captured by Earth's gravity, but the mechanics of such a capture would have required an almost impossible level of precision, and the moon's orbit is too stable to support this scenario. Another theory suggested that the moon and Earth formed together, side by side from the same cloud of dust and gas, but if that were the case, their composition should show more differences, not such uncanny similarities. Every explanation leaves unanswered questions, and the more scientists try to pin down the moon's origins, the more elusive the truth becomes. Beyond its mysterious birth, the moon's role in shaping life on Earth cannot be overstated. Its gravitational pull is the force behind the tides, which in turn have influenced the evolution of countless species. Early life forms may have depended on tidal pools, where water levels rose and fell predictably, creating the perfect environment for organic molecules to interact and form the building blocks of life. Without the moon's pull, these tidal rhythms would have been weak or non-existent. The moon also stabilizes Earth's axial tilt, keeping it within a narrow range over millions of years. This stability has allowed for long-term climate patterns that nurtured the rise of ecosystems and civilization. On a planet without such stabilization, climates could swing violently, making survival far more difficult. Mars, for example, with its small and insufficient moons, suffers from dramatic shifts in tilt, leading to chaotic climate changes that may have doomed its habitability. The moon also influences humans in subtler ways. For thousands of years, people have marked time by its cycles, structuring rituals, calendars, and agriculture around its phases. Even today, research suggests that sleep patterns, fertility cycles, and even human behavior show correlations with lunar rhythms. Whether or not all of these connections are scientifically valid, they reveal a deeper truth. The moon is woven into the fabric of life on Earth, not just physically but psychologically and culturally. It is more than a satellite, it is a companion that has shaped our evolution, our myths, and our identity as a species. And yet, the moon's size is an anomaly. Compared to its planet, it is by far the largest moon in the solar system. Other planets may have bigger moons, like Jupiter's Ganymede, but those gas giants are enormous, dwarfing their satellites. Earth's moon, on the other hand, is disproportionately large, almost as if it shouldn't exist by the usual rules. Its presence challenges our understanding of planetary formation, making Earth-Moon unique among the known systems. Some researchers suggest that without this oversized moon, Earth might not have sustained complex life at all. If that's the case, then our very existence hinges on an astronomical oddity, a coincidence so unlikely that it borders on suspicious. This is where speculation creeps in. Alternative theories propose that the moon may not be a natural object at all, but something far stranger. Throughout history, there have been whispers of the moon as an artificial construct, placed deliberately in orbit around Earth. Proponents of this idea point to its perfect circular appearance in the sky, its uncanny ability to create total solar eclipses by matching the size of the sun from our perspective, and its stabilizing influence as evidence that it was designed. Mainstream science dismisses such theories as pseudoscience, but the fascination persists. After all, when natural explanations struggle, the human mind instinctively searches for deeper meanings. Ancient cultures also spoke of the moon in ways that make us wonder. Myths from around the world describe a time before the moon, as if there were memories or stories of Earth in an earlier state. Some indigenous tribes in the Americas tell of ancestors who lived before the moon appeared in the sky. Ancient Greek writers recorded similar tales, referencing people who existed before there was a moon. While these accounts may be metaphorical or symbolic, the common thread across distant cultures is difficult to ignore. Could these myths be distorted echoes of a real event, a time when Earth truly did not yet have a moon? And if so, how did it arrive so perfectly to become our stabilizer, our timekeeper, and our guardian? The moon's mysteries extend even to its surface. Despite decades of study, anomalies remain: strange magnetic patterns, unusual density variations, and massive structures beneath the crust that scientists still struggle to explain. The far side of the moon, hidden from Earth, has a different composition than the side we see, as if it were formed under completely different conditions. Even the craters tell a puzzling story, with some showing evidence of unusual depth and distribution. For those who lean toward alternative theories, these oddities fuel the argument that the moon is not what it seems, that it may be hollow or even engineered. While such claims remain outside mainstream science, they highlight just how little we truly understand about the object that dominates our night sky. Whether natural or artificial, accidental or deliberate, the moon is undeniably essential to life on Earth. Its influence reaches across physics, biology, culture, and imagination. It has been both a mystery and a muse, shaping not only the tides of our oceans, but the tides of our minds. And as our closest celestial neighbor, it raises questions that strike at the heart of human curiosity. Was it really born from a random impact? Or was it placed here for a purpose we cannot yet grasp? The more we study the moon, the more it resists simple answers. Its size, its composition, its stabilizing role, and its cultural impact form a tapestry of anomalies too rich to ignore. It is at once ordinary and extraordinary, familiar and alien, and perhaps that is why it has captivated humanity for so long. The moon is a mirror, reflecting not only the sun's light, but our deepest questions about existence, design, and destiny. It reminds us that sometimes the most familiar things are the most mysterious, and that the answers we seek might be hidden in plain sight, glowing down on us every night. When we think about what makes Earth habitable, most people imagine sunlight, water, and the right air to breathe. But there is another, less visible protector without which life might never have survived: the magnetic field. It is an invisible shield that extends thousands of miles into space, deflecting charged particles from the sun and cosmic rays from deep space. Without it, solar winds would have stripped away our atmosphere long ago, leaving our planet barren and lifeless, more like Mars than the thriving world we know today. And yet, for all its importance, the magnetic field is still one of Earth's most perplexing mysteries. Scientists can describe how it behaves, but the deeper question of why it exists the way it does, and why it has been so stable over billions of years, remains unanswered. The field is generated by what scientists call the geodynamo, the movement of molten iron in Earth's outer core. As the liquid metal swirls, it creates electrical currents, which in turn produce magnetic fields that combine into a vast shield surrounding the planet. This mechanism seems straightforward on the surface, but when you start looking closer, it becomes puzzling. For one, Earth's magnetic field is unusually strong compared to that of similar planets. Mercury, which also has a molten core, produces a magnetic field, but it is far weaker and provides little protection. Mars once had a magnetic field too, but it collapsed billions of years ago, leaving the planet exposed to solar radiation and its atmosphere stripped away. Venus, despite being nearly Earth's twin in size, has almost no magnetic field at all. Why then is Earth so different? Why does our magnetic field persist with such power and consistency while our neighbors seem to fail? The mystery deepens when you consider that the geodynamo should, by all accounts, be unstable. Simulations suggest that the turbulent flows of molten iron in the core ought to produce chaotic, fluctuating fields, not the relatively steady shield we rely on. Indeed, Earth's magnetic field does reverse from time to time. The North and South poles switch places in events known as geomagnetic reversals. These flips have happened hundreds of times throughout Earth's history, and while they cause the field to weaken temporarily, life seems to have survived them. But the fact that the field always rebuilds itself, regains strength, and continues to protect us is remarkable. It is as though the system has a built-in resilience, a self-correcting feature that defies the odds. The magnetic field doesn't just protect us from radiation, it also shapes the very conditions of life. The auroras, the shimmering lights that dance in polar skies, are the visible signs of this shield at work, as solar particles collide with atmospheric gases, creating dazzling displays. But beneath the beauty lies survival. Without the field, the atmosphere would be bombarded relentlessly, and DNA itself would suffer constant damage from radiation. Early life on Earth may have depended heavily on the magnetic field's protection, especially during periods when the sun was more volatile. It is no exaggeration to say that the magnetic field is a guardian, one we rarely acknowledge because it is invisible and silent. The fact that Earth's core remains active after billions of years is itself curious. Cores should cool over time, losing their ability to sustain the convection needed for a magnetic field. Mars's smaller size meant its core cooled relatively quickly, extinguishing its shield. Earth, however, has maintained its geodynamo far longer than expected. Some scientists speculate that the presence of the moon plays a role, with its gravitational tug stirring Earth's interior and keeping the core dynamic. Others argue that radioactive elements in the core provide additional heat, prolonging the dynamo. But these explanations are incomplete, leaving open the possibility that Earth's magnetic field is not merely a byproduct of physics, but the result of unique, finely tuned circumstances. Ancient cultures may not have known about the magnetic field in scientific terms, but they sensed its presence in other ways. The discovery of lodestones, naturally magnetized rocks, fascinated civilizations for millennia. The Chinese, more than 2,000 years ago, created the first compasses, unknowingly aligning themselves with Earth's field. Even myths and folklore hint at invisible forces shaping the world, forces that modern science now identifies as magnetism. The sense of direction that migratory birds, turtles, and even some bacteria possess also ties back to this hidden shield. Life itself appears to have adapted to the field, weaving it into its survival strategies. But here is where the story becomes unsettling. Over the last 2 centuries, scientists have observed that Earth's magnetic field is weakening. In particular, a region known as the South Atlantic anomaly, stretching from South America to Africa, has shown dramatic drops in field strength. Satellites passing through this region are bombarded with higher levels of radiation, and some researchers worry that it may signal the beginning of another geomagnetic reversal. If the field were to collapse completely during such a reversal, even temporarily, the consequences for modern civilization could be catastrophic. Power grids, satellites, communication systems, all of them depend on protection from solar radiation. A prolonged collapse could leave the planet exposed in ways humanity has never experienced. This raises deeper questions. Why does the field weaken in cycles? Why do reversals happen at all? And how has life survived them in the past? Some scientists argue that the resilience of life during past reversals suggests that the field never completely disappears. It only weakens before rebuilding itself. But others wonder if there is more at play. Something about Earth's core and its mysterious movements that ensures the shield never truly fails. It almost feels as though Earth has a built-in safeguard, a mechanism designed not to let the field vanish entirely. Whether that safeguard is natural or intentional remains an open question. Theories outside mainstream science go further, suggesting that the magnetic field itself could be part of a larger system of design. Some see it as evidence that Earth was engineered for life, with the geodynamo deliberately maintained through factors we don't yet understand. Others speculate that anomalies like the South Atlantic anomaly might not be random at all, but signs of deeper processes, perhaps even signals of cycles we have yet to decipher. While such ideas remain speculative, they reflect a growing unease with the gaps in our understanding. For all our technology, we still cannot fully explain why Earth's magnetic field has lasted this long, why it behaves the way it does, and why it seems uniquely suited to protect life. What we do know is that the magnetic field is more than a scientific curiosity. It is the reason we exist. It is the unseen shield that has guarded life for billions of years, absorbing the fury of the sun and the chaos of the cosmos. Without it, Earth might be a desolate rock, stripped bare and silent. Instead, it thrives, and when we recognize how rare this is, how fragile and improbable, we are left with a haunting thought. Perhaps the magnetic field is not just an accident of geology. Perhaps it is part of a larger pattern, another piece of the puzzle that suggests Earth is far from ordinary. The next time you see the aurora shimmering in the sky, remember that it is more than just a light show. It is the signature of an invisible guardian, a reminder that our planet is shielded by forces we still barely understand. And when you think about how precise, how unlikely, and how vital that shield is, you may begin to wonder whether Earth's magnetic field is just another coincidence or a deliberate design, one that hints at truths waiting to be revealed. Long before satellites mapped the stars, long before telescopes pierced the darkness of space, ancient civilizations all over the world looked up at the sky and seemed to know things they should not have known. From Egypt to Mesopotamia, from the Americas to the Pacific Islands, cultures separated by oceans and millennia left behind monuments, myths, and mathematics that suggest a striking familiarity with the heavens. These weren't just farmers looking at constellations for fun. They were builders aligning colossal stone structures with the rising and setting of stars, priests timing rituals to planetary cycles, and storytellers weaving myths that mirrored celestial events with uncanny precision. It is as though ancient humanity carried fragments of knowledge about Earth and the cosmos that modern science has only recently begun to rediscover. And the question that lingers is whether this knowledge came from observation alone or from something much more mysterious. Consider the Great Pyramids of Giza. Rising from the desert thousands of years ago, they are aligned with such precision to the cardinal directions north, south, east, and west, that even modern surveyors marvel at the accuracy. But the alignment doesn't stop there. The 3 main pyramids are also arranged in a pattern that mirrors the stars of Orion's belt, a connection so striking that it has sparked debate for decades. Why would a civilization without telescopes or compasses go to such extraordinary lengths to align their tombs with a constellation? Some argue it was symbolic, a way to link the pharaohs with the gods in the afterlife. Others suggest something deeper, that the builders had access to advanced astronomical knowledge that seems out of place for their time. Across the ocean in Central America, the Maya carved massive stone temples that served not only as religious centers, but also as astronomical observatories. The Temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza, for example, was built so that on the equinoxes, a shadow in the shape of a serpent appears to slither down its staircase, a dazzling display of precision engineering and cosmic alignment. The Maya also tracked the movements of Venus with extraordinary accuracy, developing calendars that rival modern ones in their complexity. How did they achieve this level of precision? Could it all have been painstaking observation, or does it suggest access to knowledge passed down from an earlier lost source? Then there are the Nazca lines of Peru, vast geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, depicting animals, plants, and geometric shapes so large they can only be fully seen from the sky. Some researchers argue that these lines align with celestial events, mapping constellations or marking solstices. The fact that they can only be appreciated from above has led some to speculate about their true purpose. Were they messages to the gods, ritual pathways, or could they have been signals to beings who actually observed them from the skies? Whatever the case, their existence points to an ancient obsession with linking Earth to the heavens, a pattern that repeats across cultures. In Stonehenge, massive stones were dragged across miles of land and arranged in a circle that aligns with the solstices, marking the longest and shortest days of the year. Similar megalithic sites exist in places like Karnak in France and Nabta Playa in Egypt, all showing careful attention to celestial cycles. Even in cultures that left behind no massive monuments, myths and stories reveal the same cosmic awareness. The Dogon people of Mali, for example, passed down knowledge of the star Sirius and its invisible companion Sirius B long before Western astronomy confirmed its existence with telescopes. Scholars debate how the Dogon knew this. Some argue it was coincidence, or later contamination of their oral traditions, but others insist that the knowledge is too precise to dismiss. What all these examples suggest is that ancient humanity was far more cosmically aware than we usually give them credit for. They didn't just look up at the stars, they incorporated them into the very fabric of their cultures, building lives, myths, and monuments around the rhythms of the heavens. And the deeper you look, the stranger it gets, because the knowledge they demonstrated often seemed too advanced, too precise, to fit neatly within the timelines we've been taught. The implications are unsettling. One possibility is that ancient civilizations were far more advanced than we realize, possessing technologies and sciences that were lost to time. Another possibility is that they had help from some external source, whether divine, extraterrestrial, or something else entirely. Ancient myths often speak of gods descending from the sky, bringing knowledge to humanity. Were these purely symbolic stories, or did they preserve distorted memories of real encounters with beings beyond Earth? The idea is controversial, but it refuses to go away because so many cultures share the same themes despite being separated by vast distances and never having contact with one another. Even if we strip away the more speculative ideas, the fact remains that ancient people seemed obsessed with the idea that Earth was part of a larger cosmic system. They treated the planet not as an isolated rock, but as a participant in a grand celestial dance. They built with precision that suggests purpose. They recorded cycles with a patience that defies explanation, and they left behind mysteries that continue to baffle us. What if this cosmic knowledge wasn't just practical but essential? Imagine early civilizations struggling to survive in a harsh world, learning to plant crops, track seasons, and predict weather. Without understanding the heavens, they would have had no way to synchronize their lives with the cycles of the Earth. In this sense, their obsession with the stars may have been a survival strategy. But once survival was secure, why did they go further, building vast monuments, carving entire landscapes, aligning everything with stars and solstices? That leap from practicality to obsession is where the mystery deepened. It suggests they saw Earth's connection to the cosmos as more than functional. It was spiritual, purposeful, perhaps even a clue to why we exist at all. Modern science often dismisses these alignments as coincidence, or at most impressive observation by determined people. But coincidences that repeat across continents and cultures become harder to ignore. Why do so many of the world's great ancient structures point to the stars? Why do so many myths describe gods or beings from the sky imparting knowledge? Why do so many traditions insist that Earth is not alone, but part of a much larger story? The truth is, we don't have answers. We can admire the monuments, study the myths, and speculate endlessly, but the full scope of ancient knowledge remains just out of reach. What we do know is that their legacies continue to haunt us. The pyramids still stand, defying explanation. The Nazca lines still stretch across the desert, visible only from above. Stonehenge still captures the solstice sun, thousands of years after its builders vanished. These monuments whisper to us that there is more to the story of Earth, more to the story of humanity, than the narrow history written in our textbooks. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not what the ancients knew, but why they wanted us to remember. Why did they build so large, so enduring, so impossible to ignore? Why align their greatest works with stars and cycles that outlast generations? It is as if they were leaving messages for the future, reminders that Earth is not just a planet in space, but a carefully positioned participant in a cosmic order. And maybe, just maybe, they wanted us to keep asking questions long after they were gone. For centuries, the idea of hollow Earth has fascinated explorers, mystics, and conspiracy theorists alike. On the surface, it sounds absurd. A vast world hidden beneath our feet, stretching out in caverns so massive they could hold oceans and continents. Or perhaps even an entirely separate civilization. Yet the notion refuses to die. From ancient myths to modern speculation, the idea that Earth contains vast, unexplored regions within its depths lingers, capturing imaginations and raising unsettling questions. Could it be that what we think of as solid ground is not as solid as we've been told? And if so, what secrets might lie in the darkness beneath us? The roots of hollow Earth theories stretch back to some of the earliest myths. Many ancient cultures spoke of underworlds, realms beneath the surface where gods, spirits, or lost civilizations dwelled. The Greeks imagined Hades, a vast subterranean domain where souls journeyed after death. In Norse mythology, the world tree Yggdrasil connected different realms, including those hidden beneath Earth. The Mayans spoke of Sabalba, an underworld accessed through caves and sinkholes. In Hindu traditions, there are references to Patala, subterranean worlds, inhabited by serpent-like beings called Nagas. While mainstream scholars interpret these as symbolic myths, the consistency across cultures raises eyebrows. Why did so many different civilizations, separated by oceans and time, envision vast hidden worlds below? Was it coincidence, or could it reflect ancient encounters with something real? In the modern era, the hollow Earth theory took shape in surprising ways. In the 17th century, Edmund Halley, the same Halley who identified the famous comet, proposed that Earth might be made up of multiple concentric shells, each with its own atmosphere and possibly life. He suggested this strange model as a way to explain magnetic anomalies. Centuries later, in the 19th century, the theory exploded into popular imagination, thanks to authors like Jules Verne. His novel Journey to the Center of the Earth depicted explorers discovering vast underground worlds filled with prehistoric creatures and uncharted wonders. While written as fiction, it stirred the idea that perhaps beneath our feet lies more than just molten rock. But hollow Earth wasn't only the domain of fiction. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, some explorers genuinely believed entrances to this hidden world could be found at the poles. Reports circulated of expeditions encountering strange warm winds in the Arctic, unexpected vegetation, or sightings of massive openings leading inward. Admiral Richard Byrd, a U.S. naval officer and polar explorer, later became central to hollow Earth lore. According to speculative accounts and controversial interpretations of his writings, Byrd reported flying into vast interior lands during polar missions, seeing strange creatures, and even encountering advanced beings. Whether these stories were exaggerations, fabrications, or misunderstood notes, they cemented the idea of hollow Earth in popular imagination. Mainstream science dismisses hollow Earth as impossible. According to geological models, Earth's interior consists of a crust, a mantle, a liquid outer core, and a solid inner core, with pressures and temperatures so extreme that no hollow space of any kind could exist at such scales. Seismic studies, which measure how earthquake waves travel through Earth, appear to confirm this layered structure, and yet, anomalies still crop up that fuel speculation. For example, seismologists occasionally detect zones within Earth that don't behave as predicted. Unexplained voids, strange densities, and mysterious subterranean structures appear in the data. These don't prove hollow Earth, but they remind us that we still don't fully understand what lies beneath the crust. Even in the 21st century, Vast regions of the mantle and core remain inaccessible and unexplored. Then there are the massive cave systems discovered across the world. In places like Vietnam's Son Doong Cave, so large it contains its own weather system, we realize how little of the underground world we truly know. Son Doong was only discovered in the 1990s, yet it dwarfs any human-made cathedral, with jungles growing inside and rivers flowing through. If such vast caverns can exist near the surface, who's to say what might lie deeper down? Could there be even larger subterranean chambers, hidden worlds we've yet to stumble upon? Skeptics argue these are nothing compared to the fantasies of Hollow Earth, but for believers, they serve as tantalizing reminders that the underground is still full of secrets. The Hollow Earth theory also ties into more esoteric traditions. In the 19th century, writers like Helena Blavatsky and later occult groups claimed that advanced beings lived inside Earth, guiding humanity's evolution from below. Some modern interpretations even blend Hollow Earth with UFO lore, suggesting that alien civilizations might not come from the stars at all, but from hidden realms within our own planet. These ideas, while dismissed by mainstream science, illustrate how deeply the Hollow Earth concept resonates with our sense of mystery. After all, the idea that we are not the masters of Earth but rather tenants of a larger hidden system is both unsettling and strangely compelling. What's more, Hollow Earth theories often appear alongside other anomalies. Strange disappearances in polar regions, unusual magnetic fluctuations, or legends of lost lands like Agartha and Shambhala are often linked to the concept of vast subterranean networks. Even in modern times, conspiracy theories claim governments know more about Earth's interior than they reveal, citing restricted areas in Antarctica and unexplained flights in polar zones. While such claims are difficult to verify, they keep the Hollow Earth alive as a topic of fascination and suspicion. But why does the idea persist, despite centuries of scientific pushback? Perhaps it's because the Hollow Earth taps into a primal human instinct, the urge to explore the unknown. The surface of Earth has been mapped, the skies scanned, the oceans charted, yet beneath us lies a world we cannot easily access. Caves plunge into darkness, tunnels stretch into shadow, and legends whisper of doors to other realms. The Hollow Earth is in many ways the ultimate hidden frontier, a reminder that no matter how much we think we know, the possibility of something more always exists. From a symbolic perspective, the Hollow Earth represents the unknown depths of our reality, and perhaps of ourselves. The underworlds of myth were not just physical spaces but spiritual metaphors, places where hidden truths and transformations awaited. In this sense, the Hollow Earth becomes both a literal and figurative mystery, a reminder that the world is not only what we see, but also what we cannot. Whether it is populated by serpents, gods, ancient civilizations, or simply empty caverns, it challenges us to consider that Earth may hold more secrets than we dare imagine. At the end of the day, Hollow Earth remains one of humanity's most enduring mysteries. Science insists the planet is solid, yet myths, anomalies, and stories refuse to let go of the possibility that something lies beneath. Maybe it's not a fully hollow sphere with inner suns and hidden continents, but perhaps vast networks of caverns, forgotten civilizations, or unexplored realms still exist below the surface. Until we have mapped every inch of Earth's interior, the mystery remains alive, and that lingering possibility is enough to fuel endless fascination. Because the truth is, we want to believe. We want to believe that the world we live on still holds secrets big enough to shake everything we know. The Hollow Earth is more than a theory, it's a symbol of our deepest curiosity, our hunger for discovery, and our suspicion that the story of Earth is far from complete. And maybe, just maybe, the real question isn't whether Hollow Earth is true, but whether humanity is ready to face what might be waiting in the dark if it is. Every few thousand years, whispers of cataclysm echo through Earth's history, pointing to an event so massive it could wipe out entire civilizations and reset the planet's story. The shifting of Earth's poles. On the surface, it sounds like science fiction, but the idea of pole shifts has been discussed by geologists, historians, and mythologists alike. The poles, after all, are not fixed. Magnetic north drifts every year, racing across the Arctic at a pace that has startled scientists, and in the deeper past, geological records show full magnetic reversals, when north becomes south and south becomes north. But beyond the magnetic, some theorists suggest that Earth has also experienced sudden physical pole shifts, moments when the planet's crust slips over its interior, moving continents and oceans into new positions almost overnight. If such events have happened before, Could they be the hidden force behind the rise and fall of ancient civilizations we only dimly remember? Evidence for pole shifts lies buried in the rocks and ice. Studies of magnetized minerals frozen into ancient lava flows reveal that Earth's magnetic field has flipped many times in the past. These reversals don't happen on predictable schedules, but they are a natural part of Earth's history. The last major one, the Brunhis-Matuyama reversal, happened about 780,000 years ago. In the grand scale of geological time, that's not very long ago at all. During these flips, the magnetic field weakens, sometimes collapsing to just a fraction of its strength before rebuilding itself in the opposite orientation. For modern humans, such a collapse could be disastrous. Our satellites, power grids, and communication systems would be vulnerable to solar radiation. But what about ancient humans? Could a sudden change in Earth's magnetic shield have caused chaos, climate shifts, and the destruction of forgotten civilization? The idea of physical pole shifts adds another dimension. In the mid-20th century, author Charles Hapgood proposed that the entire outer shell of Earth, the crust and mantle, could shift in relation to the inner core, moving continents thousands of miles in a geological instant. Hapgood argued that this could explain anomalies such as evidence of tropical plants found in Antarctica and ancient maps that appeared to depict the continent without ice. Even Albert Einstein entertained the idea, noting in correspondence that a displacement of the crust was physically possible and could cause catastrophic changes. If true, pole shifts would not just flip magnetic compasses, they would unleash global floods, earthquakes, and climate transformations on a scale unimaginable. Here's where the story intertwines with myth. Across cultures, legends speak of great floods, lost continents, and civilizations wiped out by sudden disasters. The most famous is Atlantis, described by Plato as an advanced civilization that vanished beneath the sea in a single day and night of misfortune. For centuries, Atlantis has been dismissed as allegory, but what if it was a memory of a pole shift? Similar myths exist in other parts of the world. Native American stories of floods that reshaped the land, Hindu texts describing cycles of destruction and rebirth, and Inuit oral traditions that tell of skies changing direction and stars appearing in new places. Could these myths be encoded memories of Earth itself shifting under humanity's feet? The sudden freezing of mammoths in Siberia adds another layer of mystery. Preserved with undigested food still in their stomachs, these animals appear to have been caught in a rapid catastrophic event, something that turned their lush grazing grounds into frozen tundra almost instantly. Could a pole shift have swung Siberia into the Arctic Circle, freezing everything in place? While mainstream science leans toward gradual climate changes, the evidence of suddenness is difficult to dismiss. What if pole shifts, rather than slow-moving glaciers, were the true architects of mass extinctions and lost worlds? Modern science acknowledges that magnetic poles do drift and reverse, but it remains cautious about sudden physical shifts of the crust. Yet anomalies persist. Why do ancient maps like the Piri Reis chart show detailed coastlines of Antarctica long before modern exploration? Why do so many ancient myths align with geological upheavals? And why are we seeing Earth's magnetic pole accelerate its drift today, moving faster across the Arctic than ever recorded before? Scientists can measure these shifts, but they struggle to explain why they happen, or when the next major one might occur. If pole shifts are real, then lost civilizations may not be myths at all, but victims of cycles we have yet to understand. Atlantis, Lemuria, new names dismissed by mainstream historians, might represent cultural memories of entire societies erased by sudden planetary changes. Imagine a thriving civilization on what is now Antarctica, flourishing in a temperate climate tens of thousands of years ago. A sudden pole shift plunges the continent into ice, burying everything beneath miles of frozen wasteland. The survivors scatter, carrying fragments of knowledge to Egypt, Sumer, or Mesoamerica, where they become the mysterious gods who taught agriculture, astronomy, and architecture. Suddenly, the similarities between ancient cultures around the globe, pyramids, star alignments, myths of great floods, don't seem so coincidental. This possibility raises uncomfortable questions about our own future. If Earth's poles have shifted before, what's to stop them from shifting again? Some researchers argue that we may already be entering the early stages of a new magnetic reversal, pointing to the weakening of the field and anomalies like the South Atlantic anomaly. Others dismiss this as natural fluctuation, but the uncertainty itself is haunting. If the field weakens further, if the drift accelerates, if a shift occurs in our lifetime, humanity's fragile technological civilization could be tested in ways we are unprepared for. Of course, speculation runs rampant in the absence of certainty. Some see pole shifts not as natural disasters, but as cycles of cleansing, encoded in ancient prophecies. Others weave them into theories of extraterrestrial influence, suggesting that beings from beyond Earth not only know of these cycles, but use them as opportunities to reset or reshape humanity. Whether such ideas are fringe or profound, they highlight the same core unease, that Earth is not as stable as we believe, and that our civilizations, however advanced, rest on foundations that can shift overnight. What makes the pole shift theory so compelling is that it bridges science, myth and mystery. On one hand, we have hard geological evidence of magnetic reversals and catastrophic climate changes. On the other, we have ancient stories of floods, lost lands, and civilizations erased by sudden upheavals. When you place them side by side, the possibility that myths may be memories of real geological events becomes difficult to ignore. It challenges the neat timelines we've been taught and suggests that humanity's story may be far older and far more tumultuous than we imagine. In the end, the idea of pole shifts forces us to confront a humbling truth. Earth itself is alive, dynamic, and unpredictable. Civilizations rise and fall, not just because of human choices, but because of forces far beyond our control, forces written into the very structure of the planet. Whether or not pole shifts explain Atlantis or other lost worlds, they remind us that the ground beneath our feet is not permanent. It is part of a cycle, one that has shaped the past and will inevitably shape the future. And maybe that is why ancient cultures were so obsessed with the heavens and the earth cycles. Maybe they knew that stability is an illusion, and that survival depends on remembering the cataclysms of the past. Because if the poles shift again, it won't just be a story of lost civilizations, it will be our story. And the only question that matters is whether we'll be remembered as survivors who carried knowledge forward, or as just another forgotten world swallowed by the turning of Earth itself. Sometimes, when you step back and look at Earth not just as a home but as an object in the cosmos, the coincidences pile up in ways that begin to feel almost suspicious. It's as though every element of our planet has been tuned with uncanny precision, balancing on a knife's edge between chaos and order. Too often we dismiss these details as luck, as if improbable accidents are enough to explain why we exist. But when you line them up, one after another, the odds start to look more like a code, or a hidden design embedded in the very structure of Earth itself. And once you notice these coincidences, you can't unsee them. The most obvious example is Earth's placement in the so-called Goldilocks zone, the narrow band around a star where conditions are just right for liquid water to exist. Too close, and the planet bakes under scorching heat. Too far and everything freezes. Venus, just one planet over, is a suffocating furnace with an atmosphere of carbon dioxide thick enough to crush you, while Mars, slightly farther away, is a frozen desert where liquid water evaporates almost instantly. Earth sits exactly where it needs to be, balanced with such precision that oceans can flow, clouds can form, and rivers can carve continents. On its own, that might be written off as chance, but it's only the beginning. Add to this Earth's axial tilt, 23.5 degrees. Without that tilt, there would be no seasons, no rhythmic cycles of planting and harvest, no dynamic climates to drive evolution. Too much tilt, and the seasons would swing to destructive extremes, leaving swaths of land alternately scorched and frozen. Too little, and the planet would stagnate in monotony. Instead, we sit at the perfect angle, a tilt stable enough to foster life yet dynamic enough to diversify it. And that stability exists largely because of another coincidence. The moon, as we've seen, is unusually large for a planet of Earth's size. Its gravitational pull stabilizes Earth's tilt, keeping it from lurching wildly over eons the way Mars does. But the coincidences don't stop there. The moon is also positioned at exactly the right distance from Earth to appear the same size as the sun in the sky. That perfect ratio gives us total solar eclipses, a phenomenon unique in our solar system. From our perspective, the sun and moon line up with eerie precision, creating spectacles that inspired awe and fear in ancient civilizations. To some, it's just luck. To others, it's a hint that someone or something arranged the pieces deliberately. Then there is Earth's magnetic field, another silent miracle. Generated by the motion of molten iron in our core, it extends into space, deflecting solar wind and shielding us from deadly cosmic radiation. Without it, Earth would be stripped bare like Mars, our atmosphere blown away into nothingness. Yet the field is not only strong but remarkably stable, rebuilding itself after reversals and sustaining life for billions of years. Why does Earth's dynamo last so long, when planets of similar size lost theirs ages ago? Why are we the exception? Water itself is another riddle. Earth is the only planet we know of with vast oceans covering 70% of its surface. Yet, curiously, Earth isn't drowning. Despite being dominated by water, the planet maintains exposed continents, where life thrives. Too much water, and Earth would be a featureless water world, its land drowned, making complex civilizations impossible. Too little, and it would be a desert like Mars. Instead, Earth maintains a balance between land and sea that seems almost intentional, a balance that allows both biodiversity and the rise of humanity. Even Earth's atmosphere is a puzzle. The mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, and trace gases is perfectly suited for life. Oxygen makes up about 21%, just enough to fuel complex organisms, but not so much that fires consume everything. If oxygen levels were a few percent higher, even small sparks might ignite uncontrollable infernos. If they were lower, advanced life as we know it might never have evolved. Once again, we find ourselves in the just right range, as though the knobs of Earth's system were turned with care. Look deeper, and the coincidences multiply. Earth's rotation speed ensures a 24-hour day, fast enough to prevent extreme temperature differences between night and day, yet slow enough to allow life to adapt. Jupiter, a giant far away, acts as a cosmic shield, its gravity pulling in comets and asteroids that might otherwise smash into Earth more frequently and end civilizations before they begin. Even the Sun itself is suspiciously stable. Many stars of similar size flare violently, blasting their planets with deadly radiation, but our Sun burns calmly, providing steady energy across billions of years. Are all these factors really accidents? The standard scientific explanation is that they are simply the result of probability. With billions of stars and trillions of planets in the universe, of course one or two will have the right conditions for life. But that answer feels unsatisfying when you consider how finely balanced every factor must be. Tilt, distance, atmosphere, water, magnetism, rotation, and celestial companions, all falling into ranges that aren't just survivable but optimal. If any one of them were significantly off, Earth wouldn't be Earth. It would be unrecognizable, barren, or hostile. This is where the coincidences start to feel eerie. It's not just that Earth is habitable, it's that it seems too perfectly habitable, as though the conditions were arranged not just for life, but for thriving, diverse, intelligent life. The odds of so many factors aligning by chance stretch beyond comprehension. Some scientists respond with the anthropic principle, the idea that we only notice how perfect Earth is because we exist to observe it. If Earth were less perfect, we wouldn't be here to ask questions. But others aren't satisfied. They argue that the coincidences are clues, hints that Earth may not be a random accident of physics, but part of a larger pattern, or even a deliberate design. Ancient cultures may have sensed this long before science. Their myths often described Earth as created or shaped by gods, set in order from chaos. They built monuments aligned with celestial cycles, perhaps reflecting their intuition that the planet's rhythms were not accidental. Even today, people feel a spiritual awe when they confront the balance of Earth's systems, as if deep down we recognize the improbability of our existence. The eerie coincidences extend to time itself. Life has evolved in synchrony with Earth's cycles, from the turning of days to the waxing and waning of seasons. Even the moon's cycles echo in human biology, in tides, in migrations, in rhythms woven into the DNA of species. It's as though life and planet were designed together, harmonizing like instruments in a symphony. And then there is the ultimate coincidence: us. Out of this balance emerged not just bacteria or plants, but conscious beings capable of asking why. Beings who look at eclipses and wonder, who measure the tilt of the axis, who debate whether all of this could really be luck. Earth doesn't just sustain life, it produces intelligence that reflects on its own origins. That, perhaps, is the strangest coincidence of all. Whether you see these alignments as evidence of cosmic design, simulation, or pure chance, the effect is the same. Earth is extraordinary. Its placement, structure, and features are so improbably perfect that calling them coincidences feels inadequate. Each piece alone might be luck. Together they form a pattern too deliberate to ignore. And once you begin to see that pattern, Earth stops looking like a random rock in space and starts looking like something far more mysterious. Perhaps the coincidences are a message, an invitation to dig deeper, to search for meaning in the balance. Or perhaps they are reminders that our home is far stranger than we realize, a planet where nothing is truly ordinary, and every detail hints at secrets still waiting to be uncovered. For all our satellites orbiting the Earth and telescopes reaching out to galaxies billions of light years away, one of the greatest mysteries lies not in the heavens above, but in the oceans below. More than 70% of Earth's surface is covered by water, yet scientists estimate that we have explored less than 5% of the deep seas. That means the vast majority of our planet remains unseen, uncharted, and unknown. In many ways, we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about our own ocean floors. This isn't just a matter of curiosity, it's a staggering reminder that our world is still hiding secrets and perhaps even lost civilizations beneath the waves. The oceans are strange enough even in their known parts. They regulate our climate, generate the majority of the oxygen we breathe, and harbor ecosystems that seem almost alien. Deep-sea vents support life forms that thrive without sunlight, feeding on chemicals spewing from the Earth's crust. Creatures discovered in these environments defy expectations, glowing with bioluminescence, surviving pressures that would crush a submarine, and living in darkness so absolute it seems like another planet entirely. If such bizarre life can exist here, what else could be lurking in the unexplored trenches and hidden caverns of the sea? Consider the Mariana Trench, the deepest known part of the ocean, plunging nearly 7 miles below the surface. Few submersibles have ever reached its depths, and those that have returned with stories of strange, almost incomprehensible organisms. At these depths, pressure is over 1,000 times what we experience on the surface. Temperatures hover just above freezing, and sunlight never penetrates. Yet life persists, adapted to extremes we once thought impossible. If Earth can sustain life in such unimaginable conditions, how many more hidden ecosystems lie undiscovered in the blackness? And if nature thrives in these hidden worlds, could remnants of ancient human civilizations also rest beneath the waves, preserved in silence? Myths and legends across cultures hint at such possibilities. The most famous, of course, is Atlantis, the great island civilization said by Plato to have vanished beneath the sea in a single night of catastrophe. While mainstream historians dismiss Atlantis as allegory, the allure of a lost world hidden under the ocean refuses to fade. Other cultures have their own versions. The Pacific speaks of Lemuria, a continent swallowed by the sea. Indian traditions mention Kumari Kandam, a landmass south of India lost to floods. And even Norse mythology tells of realms consumed by rising waters. Could these myths be more than metaphor? Could they be distorted memories of real civilizations that once thrived on coastlines before sudden floods or cataclysms dragged them into the deep? Geology tells us that sea levels have risen and fallen dramatically over Earth's history. During the last ice age, vast amounts of water were locked in glaciers, lowering sea levels by hundreds of feet. When the ice melted, oceans surged, drowning coastlines and reshaping continents. Entire cities could have been swallowed, leaving no trace but ruins buried beneath the waves. Recent discoveries suggest this may not just be speculation. Off the coast of Japan, the Yonaguni Monument lies submerged, a massive stone structure with steps, terraces, and pillars that some argue are the remnants of an ancient civilization. While skeptics insist it is a natural formation, the debate rages on, fueled by the undeniable precision of its shapes. In the Gulf of Cambay in India, sonar scans revealed what appear to be ancient city ruins beneath the water, potentially predating known civilizations by thousands of years. These findings hint at a forgotten chapter of human history hidden in the ocean. Beyond potential ruins, the oceans guard mysteries of movement and disappearance. The Bermuda Triangle, for instance, has long been associated with ships and planes vanishing without a trace. While skeptics chalk it up to storms, human error, or methane gas eruptions, the region's enduring reputation feeds speculation that something more enigmatic is at work beneath the waters. Could undersea anomalies, electromagnetic disturbances, or even unknown technologies hidden deep in the ocean be responsible? Whatever the truth, the mysteries of these waters remind us how little control we truly have over the sea. The oceans also connect directly to Earth's greatest catastrophes. Tsunamis, triggered by underwater earthquakes, have wiped out entire coastlines in hours. Submarine volcanoes erupt with power rivaling anything on land, spewing lava and reshaping seafloors. Some scientists believe massive underwater landslides could send walls of water across oceans, drowning continents. The potential for devastation hidden beneath the waves is staggering, and yet most of us rarely think about it. What lies below is not just strange life, it's also forces powerful enough to rewrite history. But perhaps the most haunting aspect of the oceans is how often they appear in humanity's deepest myths. Nearly every culture carries stories of a great flood, a deluge that destroyed the old world and gave birth to the new. The Bible speaks of Noah's flood. Mesopotamian tablets tell of Utnapishtim surviving a similar event, and flood myths stretch from the Americas to Asia. Could these stories be echoes of the same event? A massive global flooding at the end of the Ice Age when rising seas erased entire worlds. If so, the ruins of those worlds would lie beneath today's oceans waiting to be rediscovered. Modern technology is only beginning to peel back the layers of these mysteries. Sonar mapping has revealed ancient riverbeds buried beneath the seafloor, hinting at landscapes that once flourished where there is now only water. Submersibles have discovered hydrothermal vent fields larger than cities, glowing with life in total darkness. And deep-sea drilling continues to surprise us with evidence of massive impact craters, like the one left by the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, an event preserved in the rock beneath shallow seas. Each discovery serves as a reminder that the oceans are far from empty. They are archives of Earth's forgotten history. Yet, despite advances, vast stretches of ocean remain beyond our reach. The extreme pressure, darkness, and scale make exploration difficult and expensive, which means the mysteries persist. Perhaps there are ruins of civilizations older than Sumer or Egypt lying beneath shallow seas, their stones covered in coral and silt. Perhaps there are vast networks of underwater caves housing species we cannot imagine. Perhaps there are anomalies, structures or technologies that defy explanation quietly resting in places we have yet to look. Until we explore more, speculation will fill the gaps, and myths will continue to feel uncomfortably possible. The oceans remind us of how little we truly know about our planet. We call Earth the blue planet, yet the blue remains a mystery, hiding more secrets than the stars we chart. What we've seen so far, giant squids once thought mythical, glowing creatures from the abyss, ruins that challenge our history, is likely just the beginning. And if history is any guide, the biggest surprises may lie in the places we've yet to dare explore. In the end, the oceans are more than just water. They are the last frontier of mystery on Earth. They are graveyards of lost worlds, cradles of alien life, and keepers of secrets older than humanity itself. They are a reminder that our planet is far from ordinary, and that beneath the waves whole chapters of Earth's story remain unwritten. Until we unlock them, the oceans will continue to whisper of civilizations drowned, creatures unseen, and truths we are not yet ready to face. From ancient temples to modern myths, whispers of invisible energy crisscrossing the planet have persisted for centuries. These invisible lines, often called ley lines, are said to be pathways of power, subtle currents of force that flow beneath the surface of the Earth. To skeptics, they are nothing more than coincidence, imaginary lines drawn between landmarks. But to those who study them, ley lines are evidence of a hidden system of energy that ancient civilizations not only understood, but tapped into, aligning their greatest monuments with uncanny precision. The idea is both thrilling and unsettling. What if the Earth itself is alive with energy, a kind of planetary heartbeat, and what we call ley lines are the arteries through which it flows? The term ley lines first appeared in the early 20th century, coined by British archaeologist Alfred Watkins. While studying old maps, Watkins noticed that many ancient sites, standing stones, churches, burial mounds, seemed to align in straight lines across the landscape. He proposed that these weren't random placements, but intentional, marking routes of ancient trade or sacred pathways. Over time, others expanded the idea, suggesting these lines corresponded to Earth's natural energy fields, places where the planet's unseen forces could be harnessed. Though mainstream archaeology dismisses the theory, the alignments are striking enough to give pause. Why, for example, are Stonehenge, the Great Pyramids, Machu Picchu, and the Nazca lines all situated along major ley line intersections? Why do cultures separated by thousands of miles and years seem to have built their most sacred structures in places that fit this mysterious grid? The connection between ley lines and spiritual power is hard to ignore. Many sacred sites across the world are said to radiate strange energies. Visitors to Stonehenge report feelings of euphoria, dizziness, or inexplicable calm. Pilgrims at Machu Picchu speak of a vibrational hum, as if the mountains themselves are alive. At Sedona, Arizona, another supposed energy vortex, people claim to feel heightened creativity, healing, or spiritual awakening. Are these just psychological effects born of expectation, or are these places really linked by something invisible, a force science hasn't yet measured? Some researchers tie ley lines to Earth's geomagnetism. The planet is wrapped in magnetic fields generated by its molten core, and these fields fluctuate in ways we still don't fully understand. Could ley lines represent hotspots where these magnetic forces converge? Animals like birds, turtles, and whales navigate with magnetic sensitivity, following pathways across oceans and continents. If they can sense these fields, could ancient humans have felt them too, building monuments in places where the energy was strongest? It's not as far-fetched as it seems. Studies have shown that human brains may respond subtly to magnetic changes, even if we're not consciously aware of it. Perhaps our ancestors were attuned in ways we've lost. The alignments themselves are difficult to ignore. The Great Pyramid at Giza is not only aligned almost perfectly to true north, but also sits on a latitude that encodes mathematical relationships to Earth's size. The Nazca lines in Peru stretch across desert plains in geometric patterns that seem to point toward constellations and align with solstices. In England, the St. Michael's Lay is said to connect a series of ancient churches and sacred sites in a line stretching across the country, and when you map these globally, many fall along what some call the Earth grid, a geometric pattern of energy lines circling the globe like the seams of a cosmic soccer ball. Coincidence? Or something deeper? Then there are the anomalies. At places like the Bermuda Triangle, strange events seem to cluster. Compasses malfunction, planes and ships vanish, and unexplained lights are reported in the sky. While some attribute this to natural phenomena, methane gas, unusual magnetic fields, or human error, others suggest it could be intersections of ley lines, places where Earth's energy behaves unpredictably. Similar anomalies are reported in the Dragon's Triangle near Japan, another region of mysterious disappearances. Could these zones be planetary power nodes, where energies converge so intensely they disrupt reality as we know it? The concept of ley lines also ties into ancient myths of a world tree, or cosmic web, connecting everything. In Norse mythology, Yggdrasil linked the heavens, earth, and underworld, a cosmic axis uniting all realms. In Chinese tradition, the concept of dragon lines describes flows of qi across the landscape, and feng shui masters designed cities and temples to align with them. The Aboriginal people of Australia speak of song lines, pathways across the land that are both physical and spiritual, guiding travel and storytelling. Though described differently, the core idea is the same. The Earth is threaded with energy pathways, and knowing them means tapping into the heartbeat of the planet. Modern science occasionally brushes against these ideas, though it rarely acknowledges them directly. For example, researchers studying telluric currents, natural electrical currents that move underground, have found that they flow along conductive pathways in the Earth's crust. These currents are influenced by solar activity and the planet's magnetic field, and they sometimes cluster in certain regions. Could ley lines be cultural memories of these invisible currents, mapped and mythologized by ancient people long before electricity was understood? Similarly, seismic fault lines and underground water channels can create subtle electromagnetic disturbances. If humans or animals once sensed these, it might explain why certain sites were chosen as sacred or powerful. The unsettling part is how precise the alignments are. The Giza pyramids align with Orion's belt. The ancient city of Teotihuacan mirrors the layout of the solar system. Stonehenge marks solstices with eerie accuracy. Were these coincidences born of simple stargazing, or were they attempts to lock into something deeper, anchoring human structures to Earth's hidden design? If ley lines are real, then ancient civilizations may have known more about Earth's invisible energies than we do today. And if they are not, then why does the pattern repeat across continents and cultures with such striking similarity? Some theorists push the idea further, suggesting that ley lines are not just energy paths, but channels for consciousness itself. In this view, they are not physical at all, but metaphysical, conduits of awareness that link sacred places, people, and events. Perhaps the ancients understood that aligning temples with these lines didn't just honor the gods, it connected humanity to the planet in ways we've since forgotten. If true, It would explain why people still feel drawn to these places, why they report spiritual awakenings at sites thousands of years old. Maybe ley lines are less about geography and more about tuning into a resonance that exists between earth and mind. Of course, skeptics argue that when you draw enough lines on a map, some landmarks will inevitably line up. Humans are pattern seekers, prone to finding meaning even where none exists. And yet, this explanation doesn't fully satisfy. The sheer number of global alignments, the recurring use of sacred sites across cultures, and the continued reports of strange phenomena at these locations suggest there may be more here than chance. Perhaps the skeptics are right about some claims, but wrong to dismiss the idea entirely. After all, science itself has not yet mapped every force at work on Earth. At the heart of it, ley lines and Earth's mysterious energies remind us of how little we truly know about our own planet. We can send rovers to Mars, but we can't fully explain why people feel vibrations at ancient temples. We can measure the Earth's magnetic poles shifting, but we can't fully decode why civilizations obsessed over aligning their monuments to stars and invisible lines. The question isn't just whether ley lines are real, it's why the idea has endured for millennia. Why do we keep returning to the notion that Earth is alive, threaded with energies and waiting to be understood? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between science and myth. Maybe ley lines are not literal highways of energy, but symbolic reflections of something real. Geomagnetic currents, telluric flows, or subtle natural forces that ancient people sensed intuitively. Or maybe, just maybe, they are exactly what the myths describe, the veins of the planet, carrying power, guiding civilizations, and marking the points where Earth itself reveals its hidden design. One thing is certain, the mystery of ley lines continues to intrigue, because it speaks to something we all feel, deep down, that Earth is more than a rock in space. It is alive, resonant, humming with patterns we barely comprehend. And whether through science, myth, or something in between, the search for those hidden pathways may yet reveal that our world is stranger, more connected, and more deliberately arranged than we ever imagined. For as long as humans have told stories, we have filled the spaces we cannot fully explore with creatures of shadow, myth, and mystery. Some of these tales were clearly allegories, but others stubbornly refused to fade, resurfacing across cultures separated by oceans and centuries. The Earth, vast and largely unexplored even today, seems to harbour room for secrets. And some of the strangest may be the creatures and hidden inhabitants said to dwell in its uncharted corners. While science insists that most of these beings are folklore, the persistence of sightings and myths suggests something more unsettling. What if our planet isn't as empty as we assume? What if we share it with beings we have yet to fully recognize? The oceans, of course, are the most obvious stage for such mysteries. For centuries, sailors have spoken of colossal sea serpents, monstrous creatures rising from the depths, and beings half human, half fish. The Kraken of Norse legend was said to drag entire ships beneath the waves with its massive tentacles, a myth dismissed for centuries until modern science confirmed the existence of giant squids lurking in the deep, creatures that can grow over 40 feet long and had never been seen alive by humans until recent decades. If giant squids, once thought mythical, proved to be real, who is to say what else waits in the unexplored trenches? With more than 90% of the ocean still unmapped, stories of leviathans and sea dragons may be more than fantasy. They may be memories of encounters too terrifying to forget. On land, the stories are just as haunting. From the Himalayan peaks comes the legend of the Yeti, the abominable snowman said to wander icy slopes. In North America, countless people have claimed to see Bigfoot, a towering, hairy humanoid that leaves behind enormous footprints. While skeptics argue these are hoaxes or misidentifications, the sheer volume of reports, thousands spanning decades, keeps the mystery alive. Indigenous tribes often described similar beings long before modern tales, suggesting that these legends were not merely inventions of the modern age. Could they be remnants of an undiscovered species, or even survivors of ancient human-like relatives thought to be extinct? Then there are the stranger myths, those that suggest not just unknown animals but hidden civilizations dwelling beneath the surface of the earth. Stories of hollow earth realms have persisted for centuries, often dismissed as pure fantasy. Yet myths from Tibet, South America, and even Native American traditions describe beings who live underground, sometimes as gods, sometimes as advanced peoples who fled cataclysms on the surface. In South America, the legend of the serpent people speaks of intelligent beings living in subterranean cities. In Siberia, tales tell of vast caverns where an ancient race still dwells. Even in the modern era, explorers have stumbled upon cavern systems so immense they feel like hidden worlds, some with their own climates, rivers, and ecosystems. If nature can form caves the size of cities, who is to say entire civilizations could not once have taken refuge there? Cryptozoology, the study of hidden or unknown creatures, has long tried to bridge the gap between folklore and science. Its history is filled with creatures once considered myths that later proved real. The okapi, a giraffe-like animal from Africa, was dismissed as fantasy until its discovery in the early 1900s. The coelacanth, a fish believed extinct for 65 million years, was found alive in. These examples remind us that science does not hold all the answers, and that what is considered impossible today may be proven tomorrow. Perhaps Bigfoot, the Yeti, or even more bizarre beings await discovery, hiding in forests, mountains, or deep oceans where humans rarely tread. Some stories, however, go beyond mere animals. They hint at interactions with beings that blur the line between myth, folklore, and something almost extraterrestrial. The Dogon people of Mali, for example, hold ancient stories of amphibious beings who emerged from the water and shared advanced knowledge of the stars, including details about Sirius long before telescopes existed. In South America, myths speak of the sky people, or star gods, who descended to teach humanity agriculture and astronomy. Were these purely symbolic stories, or could they point to encounters with beings not of this world, beings who might still hide in the less explored corners of our planet? Adding to the mystery are reports of creatures that defy categorization, appearing and disappearing as though they exist halfway between dimensions. In folklore, these are the little people elves, fairies, jinn beings, said to live just outside human perception, emerging occasionally to interact with us. While often dismissed as superstition, modern sightings of strange humanoids, shadow figures, or even glowing beings in remote places suggest that such myths may have roots in real phenomena. Could there be forms of life or consciousness that we simply lack the tools to perceive? Beings hidden not in caves or oceans but in dimensions overlapping our own. The persistence of these legends raises a question. Why do humans across the globe tell such similar stories? Why do we find versions of giants, sea monsters, serpent beings, and hidden civilizations in every corner of the world? Either humanity's imagination repeats the same archetypes over and over, or these stories preserve memories of encounters too significant to forget. Consider the flood myths that span cultures. Was it coincidence or collective memory of a real cataclysm? Could the same be true for the creatures and hidden inhabitants of Earth? Science often dismisses these ideas because evidence is scarce. But evidence is scarce precisely because the places these beings are said to dwell, deep forests, remote mountains, ocean trenches, underground caverns, are among the least explored on Earth. We assume we know our planet because satellites can map coastlines and mountains, but a map is not the same as exploration. Vast stretches of wilderness remain uninhabited, and the oceans conceal mysteries we've barely touched. If intelligent creatures wanted to remain hidden from humanity, there are endless places for them to do so. What makes this idea even more unsettling is how often governments and institutions seem to brush aside or suppress reports of strange beings. Accounts of unexplained creatures are often dismissed quickly, witnesses ridiculed, and evidence buried in bureaucracy. While some of this is due to skepticism, others suspect intentional silence, perhaps because the discovery of hidden inhabitants would upend our understanding of history, evolution, and even religion. If civilizations older than ours still dwell underground, or if beings beyond human comprehension share this planet, acknowledging them would change everything. In the end, whether we are talking about Bigfoot, a kraken, or hidden underground peoples, the same truth emerges. Earth is not fully known. It is not a solved puzzle, neatly catalogued and explained. Instead, it remains a living mystery, a place where legends endure because reality has not yet erased them. Every time a fisherman pulls up a creature thought extinct, every time a cave explorer stumbles upon a cavern the size of a city, every time a sonar scan reveals structures beneath the sea, we are reminded that our world is not as ordinary as textbooks suggest. It is layered with secrets, inhabited by mysteries, and possibly shared with beings we have only begun to imagine. Perhaps these stories are not mere fantasy, but warnings, hints left by our ancestors to remind us that we are not alone. Perhaps the beings of myth are not gone, but watching, waiting, existing in spaces we rarely touch. And perhaps one day, As we push further into the wilderness, the deep, and the underground, we will find that the creatures of legend were never just legend. They were neighbors, hidden in the shadows of a planet we thought we knew. When we think of time, most of us picture clocks, calendars, and the endless march of days from past to present, to future. But to the ancients, time was never just numbers ticking forward. Time was a living cycle, a force woven into the very structure of Earth itself. What's fascinating and deeply unsettling is that so many ancient cultures, separated by oceans and thousands of years, seem to know something we've forgotten. They tracked cosmic cycles with impossible precision, built monuments aligned with solstices and equinoxes, and warned of repeating ages of destruction and renewal. Their calendars were not just tools for farming, they were maps of cosmic time, records of patterns stretching far beyond a human lifespan. And when we piece these fragments together, we begin to see hints of a truth that science has only recently begun to rediscover, that Earth's history is shaped not by random chaos, but by cycles of catastrophe written into the very fabric of time. Take the Mayan calendar, perhaps the most famous example. Popular culture remembers it for the 2012 doomsday prediction, but that's a shallow interpretation of a system far more complex. The Mayans tracked multiple interlocking calendars, some measuring ritual cycles of 260 days, others solar years, and still others spanning thousands of years in what they called the long count. Their long count didn't predict the end of the world in 2012, but the end of one great cycle and the beginning of another, a transition they believed would bring upheaval and transformation. How did they know to measure time in such vast scales? And why did they believe destruction and rebirth were inevitable? The Maya weren't alone. The ancient Hindus recorded the concept of yugas, vast epochs of time, through which humanity rises, falls, and rises again. According to these texts, the world moves in repeating cycles, each one marked by a decline in virtue until catastrophe resets the stage. Similarly, the Hopi people of North America speak of previous worlds destroyed by fire, flood, and ice, with humanity reborn each time to learn anew. In Mesopotamia, the Sumerians recorded long king lists stretching tens of thousands of years into the past, suggesting they believed in civilizations older than anything archaeologists currently acknowledge. Why would so many cultures across the globe emphasize cycles, catastrophes, and rebirth unless they had witnessed or inherited knowledge of such events? Monuments themselves often served as clocks. Stonehenge, long seen as a mysterious ring of stones, is a line to mark the solstices, functioning as a massive astronomical calendar. The Great Pyramid of Giza is not only aligned with true north, but also encodes astronomical and mathematical relationships in its proportions. The temple complex of Angkor Wat in Cambodia mirrors the movements of the heavens, with its towers arranged to reflect celestial alignments. The ancient city of Teotihuacan in Mexico is laid out with precision that echoes planetary orbits. Over and over, ancient builders embedded cosmic cycles into stone, as though they wanted their knowledge to survive long after their civilizations fell. Was this simply to honor the heavens, or was it to preserve a warning about time itself? Modern science is beginning to catch up to what the ancients may have known. Geological evidence shows that Earth has indeed gone through cycles of catastrophe, ice ages, volcanic winters, asteroid impacts. Mass extinctions appear to occur not randomly but in patterns, with intervals of tens of millions of years. Some researchers even suggest that Earth passes through cosmic danger zones as it orbits the galaxy, encountering comet showers or bursts of radiation that reset the planet's biosphere. Could ancient calendars have been attempts to track these vast cosmic rhythms? If so, our ancestors may have known more about our planet's dangers than we give them credit for. Even in smaller scales, ancient calendars reveal startling precision. The Mayans calculated the length of the solar year with accuracy rivaling modern instruments. The Egyptians built temples that captured the rising of Sirius, their most sacred star, marking the flooding of the Nile with uncanny reliability. The builders of Newgrange in Ireland designed a passage tomb that lights up perfectly at the winter solstice sunrise, a feat of alignment requiring knowledge of astronomical cycles thousands of years long. These were not primitive people guessing at the stars. These were civilizations attuned to patterns of time with sophistication we still struggle to explain. But what about the darker side of those cycles, the catastrophes they warned about? Nearly every culture speaks of great floods, fires, or destructions that ended earlier ages. Some align eerily well with geological evidence. At the end of the last ice age, About 12,000 years ago, the Younger Dryas period brought sudden dramatic climate shifts. Some scientists now argue that a comet impact triggered massive fires and floods, wiping out megafauna and devastating human populations. This timeline lines up disturbingly well with myths of a great flood, with Plato's tale of Atlantis sinking, and with Hopi legends of the last world ending in ice and chaos. Could the ancients have encoded memories of these events into their calendars, warning future generations that the cycle would one day repeat? The idea of repeating cataclysms is unsettling, because it suggests we are not exempt. If the cycles of destruction and renewal are real, then our own age is not the end of history, but merely another phase, destined to be tested by forces beyond our control. The Mayans spoke of endings and beginnings, the Hindus of Kali Yuga giving way to Satya Yuga, the Hopi of worlds destroyed and reborn. All point to a truth modern science hesitates to acknowledge: Earth's stability is an illusion, and catastrophe is part of its rhythm. What makes this even stranger is how often ancient timekeeping seems to extend beyond human lifespans into scales only recently confirmed by science. Some myths speak of cycles lasting tens of thousands of years, numbers that seemed absurd until geology revealed ice ages repeating on similar timescales. Others hint at precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis over 26,000 years, a cycle modern astronomy measures but ancient cultures somehow tracked without telescopes. How did they know? Did they inherit knowledge from earlier civilizations now lost? Or did survivors of previous catastrophes pass down fragments of understanding through myth and monument? The possibility of lost knowledge reshapes how we view time itself. If advanced cultures existed before recorded history, their ruins may lie underwater, buried beneath ice or eroded into anonymity. Their understanding of cycles might explain why so many myths obsess over calendars, stars, and ages of destruction. Perhaps they had seen it all before. Perhaps they wanted us to remember that time does not just move forward, it circles back, bringing with it echoes of destruction and renewal. To ignore these warnings is to risk repeating the same fate. Our modern calendars track only the short cycles of days and years, blind to the deeper rhythms of cosmic time. We think we are secure because we measure centuries, but the ancients measured millennia. They built monuments not for their lifetimes, but for ages to come, embedding warnings in stone so that when the cycle returned, someone might understand. In the end, Earth's time mysteries force us to confront our arrogance. We think of history as a straight line, beginning with primitive ancestors and culminating in us. But what if history is a circle? What if civilizations rise and fall not once but many times, their knowledge scattered, their warnings half remembered as myth? The ancients may have understood that time is not linear, but cyclical, that catastrophe is not an exception but a certainty, and that the only way to survive is to remember. Perhaps that is why their calendars seem so obsessive, so meticulous. They weren't just farmers tracking seasons, they were survivors tracking destiny. They were saying, "We've seen this before, and you will see it again, and when the cycle turns once more, will we be ready, or will we be just another forgotten chapter, buried beneath the ruins, waiting for future generations to wonder what we knew and why we vanished?" For all the advancements of modern science, Earth remains a planet riddled with anomalies, mysteries that refuse to be neatly categorized or explained, from unexplored regions that stretch for thousands of miles to signals that appear out of nowhere and vanish without explanation. Our world is a puzzle where the pieces never quite fit. Some anomalies may have natural causes waiting to be discovered, but others feel like glimpses into something larger, something that challenges our assumptions about what Earth is and how much we truly understand. It is in these cracks between the known and the unknown that the most haunting questions emerge. Consider first the strange signals. In 1977, astronomer Jerry Ayman noticed a burst of radio waves on his telescope printout, so unusual that he circled it and wrote, "Wow," in the margins. To this day, the "wow" signal remains unexplained, a powerful narrowband signal that seemed to come from deep space near the constellation Sagittarius. But what if it wasn't from space at all? Some have speculated that anomalies like the WAC signal might not just be extraterrestrial transmissions but echoes of natural phenomena on Earth we haven't yet identified. Radio waves can bounce, distort, and even tunnel through the atmosphere in ways that defy easy explanation. Could Earth itself be broadcasting signals we don't yet understand? Then there are the eerie sounds from the deep oceans. In 1997, hydrophones picked up a sound so loud it could be heard across the Pacific. It was dubbed the bloop, a low-frequency noise unlike anything recorded before. Initially, some speculated it was the call of an undiscovered sea creature of unimaginable size. Later studies suggested shifting icebergs, but the mystery has never been completely settled. Other sounds like the upsweep and Julia continue to baffle researchers, emerging from the depths at irregular intervals, as if something in the oceans is alive and sending signals no one can decode. With more than 90% of the ocean unexplored, these anomalies tease the imagination. Are they geological, biological, or something else entirely? The Earth itself produces other oddities, magnetic and gravitational anomalies that distort instruments and confuse scientists. One of the most famous is the South Atlantic anomaly, a vast region where Earth's magnetic field is weaker than anywhere else. Satellites passing through it often malfunction, struck by bursts of radiation normally deflected by the field. Why this region exists, and whether it's growing, is still under study. Other anomalies include places like Hudson Bay in Canada, where gravity is measurably weaker than elsewhere, as though something beneath the crust has carved out a hollow, or shifted mass in ways we don't understand. These anomalies challenge the assumption that Earth is uniform. Instead, they suggest the planet is full of hidden complexities, structures, voids, or forces buried deep below. Some anomalies verge on the supernatural. The Hestalen lights of Norway, for instance, have been observed for decades, glowing orbs that hover, flash and streak across the sky in ways no aircraft or natural phenomenon should. Scientists have tried to explain them as plasma caused by geological activity, but the consistency of sightings, dozens each year, keeps the mystery alive. Similar lights appear in other parts of the world, from Marfa, Texas, to Brown Mountain in North Carolina. If they were just atmospheric tricks, why do they recur so predictably, always in the same locations? Could these be manifestations of energy from deep within Earth, bleeding into our reality in ways we barely comprehend? Equally baffling are the zones of strangeness, places where compasses spin, technology fails, and travelers report feelings of dread or disorientation. The Bermuda Triangle is the most famous, but it's not alone. The Dragon's Triangle near Japan has a similar reputation, with stories of ships and planes vanishing. In Mexico, the Zone of Silence is said to block radio waves, with legends of strange creatures and lights accompanying its anomalies. Even if natural explanations like methane eruptions or magnetic disturbances exist, why do these places cluster? And why do so many reports echo the same themes of vanishing, malfunction, and inexplicable fear? Then there are the ancient anomalies, structures that should not exist, but do. The stone city of Pumapunku in Bolivia features massive blocks cut with machine-like precision, some weighing over 100 tons, fitted so tightly a razor blade cannot slip between them. How such work was accomplished with supposed Bronze Age tools remains unexplained. The Baalbek platform in Lebanon contains stones weighing up to 1,600 tons, far beyond the capacity of ancient builders as we understand them. The Great Pyramid's alignment with celestial bodies is so precise it continues to confound engineers and astronomers. These anomalies in stone suggest that either our ancestors knew far more than we think, or they were assisted by forces or technologies long since lost. Unexplored zones also hold their mysteries. Deep beneath Antarctica's ice, scientists have discovered massive lakes sealed off from the surface for millions of years, ecosystems untouched and unknown. What life might lurk there remains speculation, but microbes found in similar places thrive in conditions no one expected. In the Amazon, LiDAR scanning has revealed vast networks of ancient cities hidden beneath jungle canopies, rewriting history in real time. And in the ocean trenches, every dive seems to reveal creatures that look like they belong on another planet, transparent, glowing, with forms so alien they could be out of science fiction. If these are what we find with limited exploration, what anomalies await in the vast spaces we haven't even touched? Some anomalies hint at deeper truths about time itself. Parts out-of-place artifacts occasionally turn up in strange contexts. Objects like the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek device functioning like a computer to track celestial cycles, or the Baghdad battery, which seems to suggest ancient knowledge of electricity. While many of these can be explained through closer study, the sheer number of artifacts that challenge timelines raises an unsettling question. Are these just accidents of preservation, or are they glimpses of advanced knowledge from civilizations we no longer remember? If so, Earth's anomalies are not just natural, they are historical, reminders of a past we've forgotten. or chosen to ignore. One of the most haunting aspects of anomalies is how often they seem connected. Strange lights cluster near fault lines. Mysterious disappearances occur in zones of magnetic disruption. Ancient structures align with celestial cycles, as if to mark or harness Earth's energies. Ocean sounds come from regions where myths of sea monsters already existed. It's as if all these phenomena are not random but part of a hidden system, threads of a tapestry we haven't yet learned to see. Skeptics argue that anomalies exist only because humans love mysteries, and we notice the unexplained more than the ordinary. But that argument rings hollow when faced with the sheer volume of data, recorded sounds, measured anomalies, structures that defy explanation, light seen by thousands of witnesses. The anomalies are real, only the explanations are missing, and that gap between the known and the unknown is where wonder, fear, and imagination thrive. Perhaps anomalies exist to remind us of humility. They show us that Earth is not conquered, not catalogued, not fully understood. For every map we draw, there are zones that resist definition. For every signal we explain, another emerges from the deep or the sky, mocking our certainty. These mysteries whisper that Earth is not just a planet but a puzzle, a living enigma whose full nature lies beyond our reach. Maybe one day we will uncover the truths behind them when we map the oceans, drill beneath the ice, or learn to read the energies that flow invisibly through the land. Or maybe these anomalies will always remain just beyond comprehension, keeping Earth forever shrouded in mystery. Either way, they remind us that our planet is stranger than we dare imagine, a place where the line between science and myth blurs, and where the unexplained waits patiently for us to notice. When we peel back the layers of anomalies, myths, and eerie coincidences, one haunting question lingers in the background. What exactly is Earth? Is it simply a planet? A lucky rock floating in the void with just the right conditions for life? Or is it something far stranger? Perhaps alive, perhaps constructed, perhaps part of a reality so profound that we are only scratching at the surface. Throughout history, philosophers, mystics, and scientists have dared to propose radical theories about the true nature of our world, theories that challenge the core assumptions of everything we think we know. And the deeper we dive, the harder it becomes to dismiss these ideas as mere speculation. One of the most ancient and enduring theories is that Earth is a living being in its own right. From the Greeks to indigenous cultures worldwide, myths have described the planet not as an object but as an organism, a mother, a goddess, a conscious entity. The Gaia hypothesis, revived in the 20th century by scientist James Lovelock, takes this idea into the realm of science. According to Gaia theory, Earth functions like a self-regulating system, maintaining conditions favorable for life through feedback loops between the atmosphere, oceans, and biosphere. While mainstream science treats this as metaphor, the implications are staggering. If Earth behaves like a living organism, might it also possess a form of consciousness? Could the rhythms of climate, the cycles of catastrophe and renewal, be expressions of something more than geology? Something intentional, alive, aware? If Earth is alive, then what are we? Symbiotic inhabitants, like microbes in its vast body, or parasites, testing its patience? Ancient cultures often warned of consequences when humanity disrespected the Earth. Modern science echoes this sentiment in its own way, pointing to ecological collapse and climate disruption when balance is broken. Could disasters, floods, quakes, extinctions be more than random events? Could they be the immune responses of a living planet? The idea is both humbling and terrifying, that we are not masters of Earth, but guests, and perhaps not always welcome ones. Yet another radical possibility is that Earth is not simply alive, but designed, an artifact of cosmic engineering. The uncanny precision of Earth's conditions, the tilt, the distance from the sun, the size of the moon, the protective magnetic field, has led some to argue that it is too perfect to be chance. This ties into the fine-tuning argument in cosmology, that the universe itself seems calibrated for life, with constants and forces balanced so delicately that the slightest change would render existence impossible. If the universe is fine-tuned, then Earth may be more than just a lucky planet. It may be part of a deliberate blueprint, a world crafted as a cradle for consciousness. Who or what would be the architect of such a design? Religious traditions would call it God. Ancient astronaut theories suggest extraterrestrial intelligence, beings so advanced they might appear divine to us. Some even propose that Earth is a kind of experiment or farm, seeded with life and watched over by its unseen creators. If this sounds far-fetched, consider how humanity itself is already tinkering with genetic engineering, artificial ecosystems, and even the possibility of terraforming Mars. If we are on the cusp of creating artificial worlds, is it truly impossible that others, far older and more advanced, have already done the same here? Then there is the most modern and perhaps most disturbing theory, that Earth and indeed our entire universe is a simulation, popularized by philosophers like Nick Bostrom and echoed in scientific circles. The simulation hypothesis suggests that what we perceive as reality is a construct, a program running on some incomprehensibly advanced system. If so, Earth is not a rock or a goddess or an artifact. It is code, pixels, data. The coincidences we find so eerie, the perfect solar eclipses, the improbable balance of oxygen, the alignments of ancient monuments, might not be coincidences at all, but deliberate design features of the simulation, clues hidden in the code. Evidence for this remains speculative, but anomalies in physics sometimes hint at it. The discovery that the universe seems pixelated at the smallest scales, like information stored in bits, or that reality obeys mathematical rules with uncanny rigidity, fuels suspicion. Some scientists have even suggested that cosmic rays reveal grid-like patterns, as though reality has a resolution limit. If Earth is simulated, then everything we experience, oceans, mountains, even our sense of self, might be constructs designed for reasons we cannot grasp. The chilling part is not whether it is real, but why. What purpose would a simulation serve? Is it entertainment for higher beings, a test, or something stranger? If we look at myths through this lens, they begin to take on new meaning. The gods who descend from the sky to teach humanity could be programmers entering their simulation. The cycles of destruction and renewal could be reboots or resets, programmed into the system. Even strange creatures and anomalies, cryptids, UFOs, unexplained lights, might be glitches, artifacts of a code occasionally misfiring. To many, the simulation hypothesis is too sterile, too impersonal. Yet it has a haunting logic. If advanced beings can create simulations indistinguishable from reality, and if civilizations tend toward this technology, then the odds are overwhelming that we are already inside one. Between these theories, Earth as alive, Earth as designed, Earth as simulated, there lies another possibility that all are true in different ways. A simulation can still host life, and a designed world can still evolve into a conscious being. Perhaps what we call Gaia is Earth's emergent awareness within a larger cosmic architecture. Perhaps ancient myths of Earth as mother or goddess were not poetry but perception, humanity sensing a consciousness we've since forgotten how to hear. Maybe Earth is not merely alive or designed, but both, a conscious entity nurtured by design, evolving within a simulation. What unites these theories is their rejection of the mundane. They refuse to accept that Earth is simply an accident. Whether alive, crafted, or simulated, they all suggest purpose. And that idea changes everything. If Earth is alive, then we must learn to live with it, not against it. If it is designed, then there is intent behind our existence, and perhaps expectations we have yet to uncover. If it is a simulation, then reality itself may be less about survival and more about meaning, learning, or performance in a test we don't yet know we are taking. Skeptics argue that such theories are born of human arrogance, the need to believe our world is special, but perhaps the arrogance lies in dismissing them. After all, the more we learn, the stranger Earth becomes. Oceans unexplored, anomalies unexplained, myths echoing truths, coincidences too sharp to ignore. Every discovery seems to whisper that we are missing something, that our understanding of Earth is like looking at the cover of a book without ever reading the story inside. In the end, the true nature of Earth may be beyond our comprehension, but asking the question is itself transformative. It forces us to see our planet, not as ordinary, but as extraordinary, not as background, but as central, not as inert, but as mysterious. Whether alive, designed, or simulated, Earth is not just a setting for humanity, it is the key to our greatest mysteries. And perhaps when we finally understand its true nature, we will understand ourselves. As we arrive at the end of this journey through Earth's mysteries, what becomes clear is that our planet is not what we've been taught to believe. Beneath the surface of familiar facts lies a world that is anything but ordinary, layered with coincidences too perfect to be chance. anomalies too persistent to dismiss, and legends too widespread to ignore. From the fragile balance of Earth's tilt and distance from the sun, to the haunting myths of floods and pole shifts, to the hidden worlds in our oceans and the eerie alignments of ancient monuments, every thread we've pulled leads to the same unsettling truth. Earth is not just a rock drifting in space, it is a mystery still unfolding, one that may never be fully solved. Perhaps the greatest lesson is humility. For all our technology, we have explored less than a fraction of the oceans, mapped only portions of the seafloor, and understood just fragments of the planet's cycles. We speak confidently of history, yet myths hint at forgotten civilizations that may have lived and died long before ours. We think of time as linear, yet ancient calendars whisper of cycles repeating endlessly, destruction followed by renewal. We treat Earth as background, yet evidence suggests it may be central, alive, designed, or even simulated. The more we learn, the more we realize how little we know. And maybe that is the point. Maybe Earth is not meant to be understood in full, but experienced as a riddle, a puzzle that challenges us to question, to seek, to grow. If Earth is alive, then we must learn to respect it, to live as part of its system rather than in defiance of it. If it is designed, then perhaps there is a purpose to our existence, waiting for us to uncover. If it is a simulation, then even our questions are part of the program, and the act of searching for meaning is itself the test. Whichever theory proves true or none at all, the message is the same. Earth is extraordinary, and so is the fact that we are here to witness it. Think about it. Civilizations may rise and fall, oceans may guard their secrets for millennia, anomalies may remain unsolved, and myths may blur into history. But through it all, one thing endures: humanity's need to ask why. That need is what connects us to our ancestors who built pyramids aligned to the stars, to sailors who told stories of monsters from the deep, to mystics who spoke of cycles of time, and to scientists who measure the shifting poles today. We are part of the same search, driven by the same wonder, standing on the same Earth that has both sheltered and tested countless generations before us. The conclusion, then, is not closure, but invitation. An invitation to see Earth not as mundane, but as miraculous. Not as conquered, but as mysterious. Not as background, but as active participant in our story. It is a reminder that the ground beneath our feet is not permanent, that the sky above us holds patterns older than civilization, and that the oceans, the poles, the anomalies, and even time itself are all part of a riddle we are only beginning to understand. So the next time you look at the moon, or hear the crash of waves, or stand in the shadow of ancient stones, remember, you are standing in the middle of a mystery billions of years in the making. A mystery that connects myth to science, past to future, and humanity to the cosmos. A mystery that asks not just what Earth is, but why it is. And the answer to that question may be the most important discovery we ever make.